You and I are going wine shopping together. You can find a sensational bottle of wine for criminally low prices. Let's get started exploring and tasting new wines together. Today, we're opening up our very first bottle of sparkling together, which is very long overdue, I must say. But this isn't just any old sparkling. This is a very specific kind of sparkling that's gotten very trendy the past few years. All the cool kids are drinking it. I'm talking, of course, about Pét-Nat. Pét-Nat, as it's known, is short for the French pétillant naturel, which roughly translates to naturally sparkling. Though this is a freshly trendy wine, this way of making bubbly, also known by the French as méthode ancestrale, goes back centuries, longer than the other more familiar and complex methods. The majority of Pét-Nats are still coming out of its home in France, but you'll find plenty being made around the world, and especially coming out of the United States. As you may already know, in fermentation, yeast plus sugar releases alcohol, yay, and carbon dioxide, or the bubbles. With sparkling wine, those carbon dioxide bubbles are trapped, whether it be through traditional method directly in that bottle, or through the tank or Charmat method in a pressurized tank. These styles, however, take a fully fermented still base wine or a blend of many different base wines, add sugar and yeast to that, bottle and trap the carbon dioxide, and create the bubbles that way. With the more wild Pét-Nat, it is closed, usually with a crown cap or the same thing you'll see on top of a beer can, during that very first fermentation, thus trapping all those lovely bubbles. Because of that, the finished Pét-Nat is much harder to control or predict, and so they can vary greatly from bottle to bottle, even from the same producer in the same year. And that is one of the very special and unique things about Pét-Nat. You never quite know what you're gonna get. After being freshly bottled, there may be a bit of perceptible sweetness on the palate because some of the residual sugar hasn't been fully fermented. As time goes by though, the Pét-Nat will get drier and drier. Many Pét-Nats are unfined and unfiltered, which provides lovely texture and body to the wine. Sometimes you'll even find a Pét-Nat with some lovely chunks floating around in the bottom. Very natty. Don't worry about it, it won't hurt you. It's just those dead yeast cells. When it comes to more classic sparkling wines, they tend to be made from a more narrow range of grapes, while Pét-Nats are being made from a huge variety of different grapes and combinations of grapes from wine regions all over the world. The rules are much less strict when it comes to Pét-Nat, and so winemakers can get very playful and very creative when it comes to crafting and styling their own bottle. So let's talk a little bit about this specific bottle that I grabbed at Trader Joe's for $7.99. I honestly can't find much about this particular bottle of wine. It's made by Pierre and Antonin Winery. These are a pair of friends who are making natural wines in the Languedoc, which is a region in southwest France. And it doesn't surprise me that this is coming from that area. I kind of liken the Languedoc to the Wild West of wine regions in France. And this is because they have a lot more freedom down there. It's this beautiful, vast, large region, much larger than a lot of other regions in France. And it's just gorgeous, beautiful, open land, and open in rules as well. These winemakers have so much more choice when it comes to doing what they want to do with their wines. It's much less strict, much less traditional and narrow than, say, regions up north like Burgundy, Champagne, Bordeaux, the Rhone. You get the idea. So they can have a little more fun, be a little more playful. It makes sense that something like Pét-Nat would do very well there. So Pierre and Antonin have been making natural wines in that region for about 3 years. Thus far, they're only really promoting 2 of their wines, which are both Pét-Nats. One is a white Pét-Nat, one is a rosé. They are both called Nature's Revenge, which is an amazing name for a Pét-Nat. But this amuse-bouche is not listed under there. Their white Nature's Revenge Pét-Nat is made using the Chardonnay grape, and the rosé is used making the Grenache. So I don't know if this is maybe just something they're doing especially for Trader Joe's at the moment, but I couldn't find any facts on what grapes go into it, how exactly it's made. It's pretty clearly not fined or filtered because it is very hazy. There's not a ton of information on here. It says it's made using the Ancestral method, and it says Pétillant Naturel on it, so you can be sure that it is a Pét-Nat. And it only says sparkling white wine from France, so it doesn't even say specifically Languedoc. This is partly because there aren't really any legal There isn't a legal ability to say Languedoc for that because Pét-Nat doesn't really have that legal designation yet. So hence they can only say France, or the grapes are coming from all over the country and from many different regions. So that's why I would also just say France. It says sparkling white wine, so I imagine maybe Chardonnay in this. I think I probably just have to taste it to try and figure it out. It smells very Pét-Nat on the nose. By that I mean it has this lovely sour beer quality to it, or sourdough. That very tart, acidic, citrus pithy note. Very orange and very grapefruit. Very grapefruit. But yes, you can see this gorgeous hazy color, very lemony, pale with some orange glints in there. And you will find with Pét-Nats, the bubbles are much finer and smaller. It's not gonna be quite as sparkling as a champagne or a Prosecco. The bubbles are a lot softer. Nice and fizzy though. Still very fresh. On the nose and on the palate, you get that sour beer. Like I said, getting a lot of orange rind, orange zest, grapefruit pith, grapefruit zest. It's very tart, it's very bright. There is a creaminess to it as well, which is coming from all that consistent lees contact because it's just been yeast and sugar stuffed in here, capped. Good luck, turn into a wine. So you get a lot of contact with that yeast, which gives it this creaminess. So while it is all these high tones, bright, tart, pithy, I'm also getting this fun kind of creamy meringue note. It almost reminds me of, I don't know if you guys ever had those orange sherbet push pops when you were kids, but it kind of smells like that. And it's floral as well, all these nice yellow and white flower notes. Medium plus to high acid, as it should be. Pretty moderate alcohol, it's 12.5. Moderate to low. You'll find that Pét-Nats tend to be a little bit lower, just because they can't control that fermentation. Sometimes it stops a little early, so you have that lower alcohol content. This is pretty dry, so I imagine it was bottled long enough ago that it's not still retaining any of that residual sugar, like we talked about. These are just so playful, so much fun. They don't take themselves too seriously. They're not as clean or as precise as, say, like a champagne, but that doesn't make them any less delicious or pleasurable to drink. And because of that texture and the low alcohol, this means it's very easy drinking and also very pairable with foods. It makes me want to pair it with more simple foods. I'm talking pizzas, pastas. I think this could be fun with sushi though, to be honest. I think with like ginger, this would just be rockin'. And you don't have to worry if it has a nice fresh wasabi, you don't really have to worry about this getting in the way of the heat or exacerbating the heat because it's lower alcohol. I think it could be really good with sushi. That's what I want to eat this with. That or crudo with some nice citrus like yuzu elements or grapefruit, blood orange in there. Just really nice, fresh, bright. I want to pair like with this. Great with, yeah, the seafood crudo, vegetable crudo though as well, tempura dishes. I'm going very Asian influenced with this wine. That's what's speaking to me right now. But like I said, order me a pizza, I'll crack this open, we'll have a great time, we'll watch a show. And well, now you know all about the coolest, trendiest sparkling wine that's out there on the market right now. Please drop a comment and let me know what you think about this wine. It's $7.99, worth a try. And look, even if you don't love this wine, even if it doesn't speak to you, don't write off Pét-Nats because there are so many different kinds out there. There are some that are gonna be even more thick and hazy, like I said, with those chunks floating at the bottom. And there are some that are a little more clean, a little more polished. But this is a wonderful introduction into that spectrum. I think it's a nice middle of the road. It's not super funky to scare you off, but it's not as clean and polished. Some people want the funk, you know? Some people are like, bring the funk, and they want to go all the way over here. Some people like it really nice and clean. I think this is somewhere like right over here. So it's a lovely introduction. So yes, please drop a comment. Let me know what you think about this. This is a really, really fun wine, especially with summer, lake days, just being outside, having picnics with friends. This is a great wine to bring. So let me know what you think. And until we crack open our next bottle, keep exploring and trying new wines. Chin chin.